Good evening, Avram.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
All right. All
That's good.
right.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Isaac and I had an awesome day. We got to do something really cool that you would have really appreciated, made me think of you all day,
Oh yeah?
which is we went to the Retro Gaming Expo near our house. They had they had a Retro Gaming Expo here, which was awesome. They
Nice.
had like every kind of machine you could imagine, pretty much, and so many of them, and then you could go play with like anything. And I was actually had a question for you. You would have been loved it because you would have known even more than me about all the old machines and the variants of them, and some of the ones that are like never made it to the United States
Sure.
or whatever. And uh, you know, there's one, I think I found my favorite old console, and it's, you know what, we could say this to the air because I think the audience would actually find this interesting.
Okay. Sounds good. Do me a favor. Tap your
Okay.
microphone.
Is it not coming out of that?
I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, no, 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 it's not. Okay, hold on. How about now?
There you go.
All right, yeah, yeah, it was not setting to that. Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, your soundscape was wrong.
So I think what we could talk about
Oh,
today,
yeah. That's worlds different. All right, continue.
I think what we could talk about today, rather than talking AI again,
Well, we've
uh,
got that in the internet topic anyway.
yeah, we do that anyway. But I don't know if this is too sciency for us, but I'll ask because it's been setting the internet on fire, so to speak.
Can't wait
We've
for
done a
this.
lot of coverage of LK99. Are you up on the whole history and drama of LK99,
Uh,
the alleged
the
superconductor breakthrough
superconductor,
that
right?
probably isn't? Yeah, that probably is
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
But we've done like 10 articles on it. People were uh, very intrigued by this topic. It seemed to be science unfolding in real time
Yeah.
on the internet,
Yeah.
which is cool. So I don't know.
That
It could be an
sounds
interesting topic.
that sounds fine with me. I mean, it would be the biggest change in electronics ever.
Yes, well, it would be, but it probably isn't.
Yeah,
But yes,
would be. That was
what would be
I.
is the key term here. Would be.
Yeah,
Um,
I chose that phrase very specifically
yes,
because of
would
the
be.
likely nonsense involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great one. Um, just in case you're curious out there, everybody, we are on officially on Kick tonight. We were able to get our account uh, credentialing solved. So if you're out somewhere else and you've heard about Kick and you want to give it a try, kick.com/PLUGHITZ live. Come on over and check it out with us. I don't I don't know yet. This is all an experiment, so come check it out over there. We will be on that the whole time, like YouTube and Twitch tonight to see how it goes. What am I doing? Oh yeah. All right. I forgot to set one thing up. For the audience that is joining us live, just want to let everybody know it has been a weird couple of weeks. Very sorry we've been gone so long, but definitely glad we're back. All right. I need this. I need this. Are you useful? No. So for anybody who's curious, YouTube makes certain things very challenging. Like getting a proper shareable, like permanent link for a live video, because it's different than the link that it will be when it's done. It's infuriating to me. Nope. Alright. Whatever. Done playing around. Alright. There, now it changed. Alright. That's good enough. Alright. I'm ready to go. We have enough storage. And we are ready to start. This week, Cortana is dead. Netflix is bringing games to the TV. ChatGPT is crawling the web. And Disney is raising prices again. It's Sunday, August 13th, 2023, and this is episode 652 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, or Threads, through our live streaming services, livestream.com, Twitch, our new friends at Kick, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free episodes of F5 Live and Piltch, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do this. The first is Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. Give us some topics to talk about at the end of the show as well. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Piltch, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And of course, you'll find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. Well, it's been a couple of weeks, Avram. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. To be back chatting about some cool stuff.
And in some cases, some not so cool stuff, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Like you like to say, I think it applies here. We're not in the business of good. We're in the business of interesting, and sometimes bad stories are interesting as well. So,
yes, exactly.
because they're going to affect consumers in one way or another, and that's what we do here. So,
I mean, things that are. I love stuff that doesn't work. I love security breaches and defective products and stuff like that, because if everything worked as advertised, then great. Then I guess everyone was totally honest. Everything worked as advertised. There was never a flaw in any product or anything. There'd be no news.
Right.
It would just be PR. But fortunately, there are things go wrong. I mean, we're not officially going to talk about it, though we could have. There have been 3 different major CPU vulnerabilities identified in the last 2 weeks. 2 for AMD and 1 for Intel.
Not been a great couple of weeks.
On products that have been out for a long time.
Yeah.
So, lots of broken stuff. For sure. But what's not broken? I got to go to the coolest thing today with my son. We went to a retro gaming festival convention near my house, and they really had a ton of stuff that you could actually play. It wasn't one of those things where so we're going to talk about retro games and you can buy some stuff from a vendor and good luck to you. They had like this whole museum they had rented out, and like it was just loaded with old consoles. Every
Nice.
single one of them, you could actually had a game on it you could play. They had like two different rooms full of arcade machines you could play. Uh, I got to play. Um, I got, I mean, they had one room that was almost all like Japanese arcade games, and then they had arcade machines, and then they had another that was like mostly like games that are familiar to Americans. So I got to play Centipede on a real Centipede machine.
Nice.
Got to play, um, got to play original Space Invaders. I got to play original Pong on an original Pong arcade machine. Got
Nice.
to play, um, yeah, it was all got to play Defender, Donkey Kong, like awesome stuff. All just tons of old consoles, old play the original Atari 5200, 7800. They had um, the only one that you couldn't play with that they had like under glass or whatever was the Magnavox, the original, Magnavox
Yep.
console, the first console. But and then they had this room that was like all these consoles that I never heard of that I think may have not come out in the United States, like the MSX, and then there was one that was like by Toshiba that had a
Sure.
keyboard. That was a keyboard that I never heard of, and then this was my favorite. I know this is really and even this was I didn't have one of these because I was too, I think, young for it, but they had the Atari Ultra Pong console. They
Okay.
had a, did you know, you probably knew this, there's a bunch of consoles that Atari came out with before the 2600 that were just Pong, right? And so
Yes.
they had this one that had like 12 different Pong games on it called the Ultra Pong. And like this is different than the original Pong where the dials were built in. The Ultra Pong, they were like detachable. Man, those controllers are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like the little, it has. I don't think like the paddle on them has the quality of the paddle. It just was never replicated again.
Yeah.
Like just the dial on it, whatever, is so tight. So
Yeah.
good. Unlike like the little paddles that Atari 2600 had or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fantastic.
But I
Have
mean,
you played one of those?
I have not in a very long time, but yes.
Mhm.
We had one, believe it or not, at the church. It was like just in a room in the youth center. I think it had been abandoned and lost to time. And a couple of friends and I found it and were like, "Oh, what is this?" And yeah, had had some fun with it. And
They
then all
also
that
had
stuff
room.
disappeared at some point.
Yeah, now it's worth money, right? Because they had all
Yeah.
these vendors selling things for hundreds of, I mean, not thousands, but like hundreds of dollars for old. Like, you want a GameCube, it's like $250. You want
Yep.
a,
More than it was when it was new.
yeah, right? You want you know, a Game Boy or whatever, $200. Um, and and it's just like wild how much that stuff was worth is
Yeah.
worth now. And they all and man, it was cool. We got to play with a lot of that stuff. They even had a lot of sections that were old PCs and
Okay.
old PC games. Or they even had one where they had like an Apple II and like an IBM PC, like you
Nice.
could play on. Tandy, although the Tandys weren't turned on. My original computer, the TI-99 4A, they had one. Um, so it could have been like almost could have been like a computer history museum as well.
Yeah.
But everything you could actually sit and play, um, including like lots of like 80s and 90s PC games. So they had like you could play Doom, and you
Right.
could play Half Life or whatever. You could. They had
I mean, to be fair, Doom is a bad example because that is
No,
the
yes, you
game.
can play that a lot today.
That is the game that is used to hack new hardware. You can play it on
Right. Okay.
the touch bar on the MacBooks.
Right. Okay. So I should note that these were all on like old, obviously old PCs, like a Compaq or something
Yeah,
like that. And I'm saying Doom because that like really rings a bell with me. But they had
yeah,
other stuff that was in
sure.
the same age. So oh yeah, they had a whole section of like 5 PCs that were just playing Oregon Trail.
Sure.
Just just Oregon, just a whole section of just Oregon Trail,
Sure.
and another whole section just for people playing flight sims, and a whole
Sure.
other
Yeah.
section just for people playing racing games, and a whole other section just for people playing my personal favorite Light Gun Alley, playing light gun games. Although those were on consoles. Um, so a whole section for people who want to play Pokemon games. Like
Yeah.
it was it was it was unbelievable. Oh, and a whole section for homebrews too. People like showing their homebrews and stuff like that.
That's cool.
They had this thing, I guess, a service where you could make your own homebrew and then like pay to have it put onto a cartridge for like Nintendo or N64 or whatever it was.
Nice.
They'd actually make a cartridge free. I mean, not there while you waited, but I think they were trying to sell you that service. Um, so
That's a cool idea.
just like they had some bands playing video game music uh, live. It was like
That's a good idea.
costume contests, presentations. My son and I end up in a presentation. This is just really weird. About like it said, I think this is very correct advertising for it, but it wasn't cool in my view. My son loved it though,
Sure.
surprisingly. They said we're going to unravel the mystery behind a secret piece of Nintendo hardware that never came out. So we go to the theater to the theater part to see this. Do you know what the secret piece of Nintendo hardware is that never came out? The word unravel probably should have been a clue, but I didn't know this ever happened. It was a Nintendo knitting machine
Sure.
that never came out. Have you heard of
Sure.
this? Sure.
No.
They
I mean,
in 1980
Nintendo is a much weirder company than most people know. They started by
Yeah.
making like regular poker cards in like 1911.
This is for the NES.
But
This is
but
a
I mean,
Nintendo.
but what I'm saying is they're a way weirder company than people give them credit for.
Yes.
So yeah, a knitting machine, sure.
It never actually came out, but apparently these two people spent a lot of time trying to research the history of this thing that never came out, but was shown at CES in 1986 or 87 or something, and it's apparently a knitting machine that what didn't really connect to your Nintendo, but there was a game that you used that would sort of like help you plan to make a Mario sweater, and then I guess it was supposed to like help you keep track while you used the knitting machine. They never came out with it though, but they spent an hour talking about all the research they did into this thing that never came out, looking at patents from Japanese companies and all kinds of stuff. Okay.
The controller clips into the machine.
Oh, you're looking at it now?
I'm
Yeah.
looking at an article on Adafruit.
Oh, anyway. So I hadn't heard of this before, but I guess other people had. I was more interested in the stuff that they talked about at the beginning, where they said there was almost a keyboard for the NES. There was almost like a keyboard that you could use for music, and another keyboard you could use for programming. And they had a robot for the. I didn't even realize NES had a robot, but I guess most people knew that. So anyway, sorry, we could pick up on more later, but
the marketing for it legitimately says, now you're knitting with power.
yes, that's the picture they were showing. Now you're knitting with power.
It's apparently the only picture.
Yes.
I see it. I see this image everywhere and nothing else. So this must have been the only printed material from CES.
That
and that
is
was the end of it.
No, they actually have a picture of someone using it at
Oh
CES. So
yeah.
there's one other picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is the one all the articles are using.
Yes. Yes. So anyway,
Wild.
there you have it. Now you're knitting. Now you're knitting with power, but not knitting a power glove apparently. Um, oh, no power. I didn't see any power. To be fair, I didn't see any power gloves there either.
No, they are stupid expensive.
I did not. I didn't see anyone using one. I didn't see anyone selling one. Uh, I didn't see any on being shown. Did not see any power glove. Uh,
Yeah.
Nor did I actually. The other thing I didn't see, which I was really hoping to see, although I know this isn't probably like a standout in gaming, was a Coleco Atom. I kind of wanted. I've always wanted to kind of see a Coleco Atom. If anyone knows
Yeah.
what that is.
Uh,
Um,
just as a note, there's one on eBay right now for $700.
I mean, I just
But
want to
there's
see it. I
all
don't want
no,
to
no, no,
buy
no.
it.
The Power Glove.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Th-
Anyway,
There's also one on here for $11,000. I wonder what the difference is. Anyway,
it works.
there's a lot in the 100 to 150 range, but I saw one at 700 and then one at 10,000.
Yep.
Something must be different about that one. It was kissed by Mario or something. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm actually working on an event similar-ish with Strike. We're gonna do a recycled gaming event. We're working with a company. You know, you've talked about places to donate old electronics and stuff. One of the organizations we work with takes all electronics but focuses on computers, and he doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the consoles. So we're gonna take and do a recycled gaming event with him. So obviously with that, it'll all be older stuff. We don't know what it'll be yet, but should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm going to close up the Nintendo knitting machine. Oh my goodness.
So, I guess my point is there was a lot of excitement about retro games, and it was fun.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like a fun event. And you've given me some ideas for ours, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about because we've been gone for a while. So let's get down to that. As a reminder, if you were joining us on Facebook or Twitter, it is time to move over to Twitch, Facebook, or Kick. Look for PLUGHITZ Live on any of those platforms, or you can go to f5live.tv/join us. And we'll be live over there if you're listening later. Obviously, you can find us in lots of places. And here we go. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, tablet, Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. Remember, current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Unfortunately, it's time to bring in the coroner because Cortana is dead. Microsoft officially turned off support for the Cortana standalone application in Windows 11 this week. If you did not update your application and you went and typed in a question or spoke a question, you would get back the same response for all questions. And it said Cortana in Windows as a standalone app is deprecated. Select the link below to learn more. If you did go and do the update, after the update, all you would get is the interaction box was gone, a message in the middle of the screen. Cortana in Windows as a standalone app is deprecated. That is it. that is the last piece of Cortana really out there at this point, was the app in Windows 11. When it got started, it was on Windows Phone. Windows Phone is now gone. It moved into the Xbox, but that was rolled back a couple of years ago. It was put into devices, the Harman Kardon Invoke, the Johnson Controls Glass. Both of those had removed it years ago, 2019 maybe, 2018. And this was kind of the last place that she was, and now she is not. So that on its own is disappointing, because there's a lot that they could have done with it, especially now that they're doing the whole Bing chat thing as a separate thing. If that had been the underlying power behind, like, a renovated Cortana, I bet people would have loved it. But, whatever. No more hearing Jen from anywhere. No more songs. No more the Cortana eye turning into the ring when she did a Gollum impersonation or anything like that. All gone. Makes me sad. I have had lots of things with Cortana integrated, including the Harman Kardon Invoke, the Johnson Controls Glass, Windows Phone, Windows 8, 10, and 11. So I was a big supporter. Unfortunately, current CEO Satya Nadella was not. But this is something that Microsoft is famous for, right, Avram? Like, having a toy, getting people excited about it, and then just moving on to the next thing. Windows Phone.
Listen, let's not call that a unique feature of Microsoft. Google
for
does
sure.
it all the time too.
Google. There's a whole website about Google's graveyard.
Yeah, I'm hoping that some more things go to Google's graveyard too. So yeah, I think, look, I think you make a good point about the AI. What's really interesting that we're not seeing with the AI is that and maybe it's just like the speed and the processing power necessary to make this happen, but you're not really seeing the voice, the text is like the voice part be linked up with the text chat, even though it seems so logical that is what you would do.
Agreed.
I think it's just a matter of like the response time, but I'm not even really sure why that would be a problem, because there's so much AI that does really good text to speech, right? So for sure they could very easily have it talk to you if they wanted to. The whole thing is very interesting when you think about it, because they're not really, they're anthropomorphizing and they're not anthropomorphizing at the same time with the Bing chat, right? Because it'll talk to you from the first person, as will ChatGPT, as will Google's AIs, SGE and Bard will all talk to you with I did this, I said that, I think I do this, whatever.
For better or worse.
But they don't have it. But they don't have a name, right?
Right.
They don't have a name. So it's, well, I guess Bard has a name, but nobody is like, "Hi, Bard. Hi, I'm Bard." Like they don't do that, right? It's interesting, right? Because now things that have a name are seen as old fashioned. Alexa is probably like, oh, that's old fashioned now.
That
Siri.
division has lost a ton of money and might be on the chopping block.
Right. So, I mean, my hope is that we, I'm just gonna opine here.
From the chat, real quick, Cortana is joining all the Xbox Live games that are no longer supported. Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that, I mean, what we saw with those could very well be what we see with the current generative AI trend, which is, oh, it seemed so cool because it seemed lifelike at the beginning, and then you started to actually realize that this isn't how you want to interact with your computer.
Right.
Um, and I think, I think that happened a lot with things like Cortana. Now,
Yeah.
granted, I'm, you know, I hasten to say power user, but like I don't like stuff that's cute. That gets, I mean, cute is fine, but I don't like stuff that gets in my way in order to be cute,
Yeah.
right? I, I will never forget one summer when I was in college. I had well, yeah, I think it was when I was in college. A friend of mine, his father ran some type of programming IT service company or something. He's like, "Hey, we'll hire you for the summer to help us with the project." I said, "Oh, what's the project?" Well, there's this new thing that came out from Microsoft called Microsoft Bob, and
God.
what we want is for you to help us research Microsoft Bob and find out how we can use this to help our clients or whatever. So I spent like 2 or 3 days looking at Microsoft Bob, and I was like, I don't know what else I can tell you guys. It's not very useful. It's okay for people who don't know what they're doing, but it's actually more of a hindrance than a help, right? But it looks cute for people who don't know what they're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
Cortana and Alexa and and other natural language interfaces uh, kind of have that feel to them also, where it's like, oh, okay, it was cute that I could ask you all these things, and maybe I'll still do it sometimes. But the number one thing I'm just going to do is ask you to turn on the lights,
Uh-huh.
right? And and now we have ChatGPT and we have Bing Chat and we have Google stuff, and I mean, obviously, it can do a lot more in terms of doing work that we think of as creative. Uh, it's not really creative, but we can think of it as such if we want.
Right.
Um, and the and I think the fad behind those is already to some extent starting to fade because the amount of traffic on ChatGPT dropped. I mean, yeah, you could, you can use them to fake your way through through a writing assignment or something,
Mm-hmm.
but um, and maybe people will continue to use them for that kind of thing. But it's not like the whatever the good use of it is not as is not as good as people think, and like
Right.
shoving it in your face. I think the thing is the status says first we shove this. We think we're so smart that we shove this in everyone's face, and Microsoft shoved Cortana in people's face like crazy. For
Yeah.
example, every time, was this with Windows 11 install or just Windows
Yes.
10 install, when it
11.
said a little Wi-Fi here, a little whatever there, like it would start talking to you while
Yeah.
you're. That is the. I'm sure you
Hi.
know that is like the world's most annoying thing.
Hi, I'm Cortana. Let me help you get your computer set up.
Like right. So that's oriented again toward people who don't know what they're doing,
Right.
because after the first time that you heard that, or even the first time that I heard that, but certainly the 50th time, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I can't believe this, especially because I forgot to turn the sound off, and now I'm
Uh-huh.
embarrassed by this because I'm installing something in my office and people start to hear it. Like, why did you do this to me, Microsoft? This was not. Nobody wants this. This is no
Yeah.
good.
And but
So
and that's exactly at this point what they're doing with this whole Bing AI thing or Viva or whatever name ends up overseeing this integration. Um, but it's all the Bing chat AI in the background. Um, they're like, okay, well, we're going to prototype this here. We're going to let people use it. Oh, some people like it? All right, well, it's going to be everywhere. No, 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 no. Shh. Hold on. don't Cortana this. Don't put it in everybody's face so quick. Do it in its thing, get it worked out, and then find out. Do studies. Find out where people might find it useful. Don't just all of a sudden have it show up in Skype for whatever reason. Just cool off. Hold on. Give us a minute to ingest this thing and figure out if we care, and if we do, how we care. Because you know, like you said, that's what they did with Cortana. It was like, okay, we're going to test it on Windows Phone. Okay, some people like it on Windows Phone. Fantastic. Well, let's make devices. Whoop. Hold on. Yes, I was very excited about those devices because I enjoy Jen's voice. That's a very different thing, though. They go full bore on these like internal toy initiatives before they quite understand if people care, and if they do, how and why.
So, right. So, the thing is, we are in the middle of a very dangerous hype cycle right now around artificial intelligence, and we can get to that in another segment or whatever. Yeah. So, Cortana was sort of a prior hype cycle, right? It was like, oh yeah, we were in the hype cycle around these voice assistants. Now, ChatGPT showed up. Everybody thought it was, you know, the coolest thing they'd seen. And now we're in the middle of an incredible hype cycle where it has to be in everything. My guess is that we haven't yet seen companies like figure out how they're going to treat this, to give this a name or whatever. To name theirs, like it's ChatGPT, it's not some name. But maybe because the named ones are considered last gen or something. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do eventually end up giving it a name and more of a personality. But it won't be Cortana, because it's sort of like Internet Explorer and Edge, right? Was Edge really, did they need to rename it Edge? Could they have just kept it Internet Explorer and just redesigned it as they redesigned IE like 5 times or 10 times? They could have, but I guess they thought the name IE had bad associations.
Yeah.
So we better rename this thing.
The
so
browser
I think that's
everyone loves to hate.
Right. So, you know, they launched Edge, and, you know, Edge, you know, people like Edge better, but is it really just because, hey, we could have just kept, if they kept the name IE, they probably would have a lesser reception, right? Because it just certainly had a bad reputation. So I think
and
Cortana,
people got turned off to Cortana not because some people invested in it, right? Developers invested in the technology because you could build skills for it, just like you can Alexa or Siri. So developers got screwed during the shutdowns. Hardware got screwed. Johnson Controls. I bet Johnson Controls will never work with Microsoft again after Glass. And you know, Harman Kardon was pretty pissed off with the Invoke, both with sales and then later the shutdown out from under them. But then consumers who did invest in those ecosystems and the Microsoft pulled the rug out from under them got pissed off too. Me, for example. You know, I mean, I still have 2 Glass thermostats. I just can't talk to them anymore. Even though they've got a microphone and a wake word, they could have easily, done a firmware update and put Alexa or Google Home in there, but they didn't. Which, you know, had its own, like, weird thing, right? There's all this stuff that went around that we talked, sometimes there's a brand that can't be rehabilitated. OnlyFans. What it is today is not what it was intended to be. They wanted to remove all of that from the platform, and you and I both said, don't think it can be done. That's the death of the platform. They got to change the name because there's no way they survive it. I think it's the same thing here. They've got to change the name. It can't be Cortana anymore because the brand has already been damaged. So,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's a shame because I'd love to continue to have Jen's voice all around me like I used to. She's a fantastic voice actor. And
It never did anything to hurt anyone, you know. It's not like, you know, it did something harmful. It just
Mhm.
there just wasn't enough as much commitment to it as there was to Alexa
Yeah.
and Siri and others.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Apple seems to have all but abandoned Siri, and Amazon seems to have cut about half the Alexa team. So I don't know how much commitment there is in that arena at all right now. We had the topic about Siri a couple months ago, and during the last round of layoffs, the Alexa team got hit real hard. So there may not be commitment around any of this because Amazon put out a study on Alexa that shows exactly what you said. People use it for the weather and triggering things that are external. That's it. That's all people use it for. I have an Echo Show in my kitchen, one of the big ones, and I use it as a Fire TV because it was a nice, cheap, small kitchen television.
Yeah, I mean, it's not useless. I mean, also for making calls or
Sure.
doing a check-in on someone
Yeah,
is
sure.
a decent use case. I think what it's proven is that voice interface. I mean, there's question about the text interface for this, but a voice interface is just inherently limited, right?
Yeah.
Like people
Even in
think
Star
that
Trek.
they've seen Star Trek. Yeah,
But even in Star Trek, only like 2% of the interaction with the computer is via voice. It's for little things like the turbo lift, but for real stuff, they're at computer panels. They're tapping on things to get information back.
yeah, it's not the best interface because it's not the best interface. People think that it is, but it's not. I
Yeah.
I think we may have talked about this previously, but there was some type of thing where they had like UI designers talk about the Star Trek UIs and whether they're good or not.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they talked about was that the voice UI is actually not as good as people think because people like studies have shown people like menus and choices,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to know exactly what you want and say exactly what you want
Yeah.
perfectly right to get
True.
what you need from a voice interface.
True. Yeah. You've got to have the two choices are you have to know exactly what you want or you have to deal with one of those phone trees. And people don't like either of those.
Right. Right.
So,
So
yeah. Makes sense. So farewell, Cortana. Hopefully, Jen, we will hear your voice in a future game. Because I will definitely miss that voice. Except, of course, when installing Windows 11. Because, that's all pre-recorded stuff. So we'll see what happens there. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right, Avram, we're gonna go right to the core of technology tonight, right?
yes, so let's talk about the biggest scientific event or non-event of the summer, which is the development, excitement, and testing around LK99. What is LK99? LK99 is a substance that has been synthesized and published about by Korean researchers, specifically Lee Suk-bai and Kim Ji-hoon. That's the L and the K in LK99. Lee Kim, I think they say they've been researching this since 1999. That's where it becomes LK99. Anyway, that is supposed to be a room temperature superconductor. Wow. That if a room temperature superconductor was discovered, it would be tremendous. So take a step back. A lot of people probably don't know what a superconductor is. And to be honest, I didn't know a lot about superconductors for the last couple of weeks, and I probably still don't know enough about superconductors, but we've been talking about this a lot at Tom's Hardware. So a superconductor is a material that can conduct electricity with no resistance, unlike, say, everything else. And superconductors do exist today, but in order for them to work, they have to be extremely cold. So, we're talking like, 200 degrees below Celsius, or with extreme pressure, or they have to have extreme conditions put on the material for it to act as a superconductor, like freezing it with liquid nitrogen or something. And that's nice, but if you could have something that required no extra pressure put on it, extra freezing temperature, then you'd really have something, because a superconductor can basically doesn't lose, is 100% efficient, right? When your electricity is moving through most substances, a lot of it is lost to heat, a lot of it. So there's great inefficiency, which wastes energy. If you have computer chips, you know that a lot of the electrical activity comes off as heat, and you need all these coolers to prevent the material from, say, melting or breaking with your CPU. If your CPU could be made out of a superconductor, then you could just imagine that would you even need cooling at all? You would certainly have a lot more efficiency, much faster computing. You would be able to do crazy supercomputing on ridiculous amounts of processing on a computer in your house, right? The amount of computing power that you would get. You would also have the ability to have electrical grids where the distribution of electricity was much, much, much more efficient, because all of the electricity that's lost on the way from the from the power plant to your house wouldn't be lost if it was traveling over superconductors. A lot of other things that kind of do require superconductors is an MRI machine requires superconductors. So, but they have to be super cooled. With one of these, you could make a much better MRI machine. Maybe be able to see things a lot better, diagnose things better, help people better. That would be a fantastic breakthrough. It's been a holy grail of physics. So these scientists, Lee and Kim, and published a paper saying, "Hey, we've formulated this substance LK99, and at room temperature, it's a superconductor." But it was not peer. Their study was not peer reviewed, and they didn't provide certain key details, and there was a lot of skepticism. But they did provide some directions about how to make your own LK99. So what happened? A whole lot of people on the internet, including other university researchers, went out and tried to replicate their findings. And we got some very interesting stuff, but we also got a lot that said that they couldn't replicate the findings. No one has completely replicated the findings. There have been some who use computer simulations that said, "Hey, this should work," but in real life, no one has been able to replicate the findings. What we did get, though, and I'll share my screen to show some of this, because we've done some interesting stories about this on Tom's Hardware, is so So, for example, we a lot of people posted videos. Particularly, there were a lot of researchers in China publishing videos to Bilibili, which is like Chinese YouTube, and you can see in the videos this little black speck, and the little black speck is supposed to be like the LK99, and you can see that it's sort of levitating, uh, like they're poking at it, right? But it's sort of levitating over this magnet. Um, and the thought there is that a superconductor um, has some a property called diamagnetism, which means that it actually repels magnetic um, fields. So a superconductor can float above a magnetic surface. However, it's important to note that diamagnetism could happen without it being a superconductor, and it could happen, and there are other ways to have magnetic levitation that are not diamagnetism. So, so there's some question about whether what these folks are seeing here actually proves that this is a superconductor. There was another Chinese university that claimed that they got it to superconduct at sub-zero temperatures, so not at room temperature, but others have said they weren't even able to reproduce that. But a lot of people are still working on this. There are some who are going to actually get samples from the Korean lab, so that may give them some, more insight to get it. Because one of the questions is, did everyone who synthesized it synthesize it exactly the same way as the original Korean lab did? Because it's hard to make. Well, I guess it's easy. It doesn't work. It's not expensive to make, but I guess there's some randomness involved in it. There also was an incident where someone who posted a video, not one of the two I showed you, a different video of a magnetic levitation, came out and said that this wasn't LK99, or this wasn't correct, and this was a fraud, and they had to take their video down. Similarly, a couple of new studies say that it's actually a ferromagnet, not diamagnet, not showing diamagnetism. In other words, it's just a repulsing magnetic field. Um, and and there also is a theory out there that, by the way, I think these pictures came from Shutterstock, and I think that they are not actually okay. These are illustrative, we said, but there's a theory that doping it, meaning adding some more materials to it, could lead to it being a superconductor. But so far, nobody has actually seen it get there in the real world, apart from the original authors whose work has been called into question. But this has been a huge thing. There's been a huge thing going on Twitter, or you want to call it X, talking about the different studies. There have been a lot of people trying to reproduce them. There's been, all these videos on Bilibili. There have been other ones besides these trying to show levitation, all kinds of crazy stuff, all about this LK99, because people really are hungry for, hey, wouldn't it be great if you had a room temperature superconductor? And this is one of the first things I've seen where you have people just all around the world, people in laboratories of different universities, people in their kitchens with a kiln or whatever, trying to reproduce this, trying to kind of see if they can reproduce this study, which is pretty cool, because I think most scientific quote unquote breakthroughs or alleged breakthroughs, there isn't so much immediate ability for someone to just go out and try it and see if they can replicate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this whole story has been fascinating. I've been following it off and on. Our good friend Chris Jordan has posted about it, and I've been following stuff on Tom's Hardware as well. It's really interesting, because big emphasis on the if, If this is real, it would completely change the way so much of the world works. It's unbelievable the potential for this. But the likelihood is completely nonsense.
Yeah, yeah, especially because these scientists didn't really follow the procedure that you're normally seeing.
Yeah.
But normal procedure. But I think that also is part of what's made it interesting in the story is there are people, instead of the kind of normal sort of slow process of science, like, hey, we're going to do this, we're not going to show it to anybody until we've proven it over and over again, and we're not and you're going to wait years to find out. Like, here you've got a really fast process of people I mean, supposedly they've been talking about this for a couple of years, but since their paper came out, they sort of said how to do it. There's been how to make your own. There's been just a lot of people trying to do it. So, I mean, it's interesting because you see other things that people have worked on scientifically recently, and I don't know, it just doesn't go out on the internet or on places like that. I mean, I don't know how much knowledge sharing was going on when, say, pharma companies were developing, mRNA vaccines to use for COVID vaccines or whatever. But like that was another area where you had something major scientific product being worked on supposedly really quickly, but you didn't have them tweeting out like, oh yeah, so here's how you could make an mRNA vaccine in your in your kitchen to try it, right? So it's interesting because there's a lot of people trying to replicate the breakthrough who are able to attempt it, and you're seeing papers on what's the name of that service, RX, or I don't know how to pronounce it, RxVF or whatever, where they have preprint scientific papers just going up every day. So, it's nice. I don't know. For me, it's nice to see that there's something where you got a scientific community and people who are more lay people excited about a potential breakthrough, and a lot of different people able to kind of participate in the process of scientific discovery, even if it's disproving something. And I know that like real scientists probably would disagree. They'd probably be like, hey, this is embarrassing because these people came out with this and it was half baked or something, and they've got a lot of attention for themselves and it's turned out to not work. I mean, that's the general consensus at the moment.
Yeah.
It still could, there's still a chance, right? But I think it's been great that there's actually been something out there where they shared information as kind of open. Well, it wasn't open enough because they kept some things to themselves, but theoretically open source about a scientific discovery, and then people going out and trying to replicate it. I mean, I think it would be cool if more science happened that way, where you could have a lot of people just trying really fast to try and replicate or have new discoveries instead of kind of the normal slow hidden process.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely been a change. And I mean, the results have not been great, and certainly inconsistent in what we've seen come back. Some of that inconsistency, of course, comes from other people possibly being interested in getting on the same bandwagon or whatever. Like the video that no, this wasn't real. This was, I'm gonna pull it down. Right, there's some people trying to jump onto the hype train, but inconsistency is its own result, right? In studies, if you do the study a couple of times and the results are inconsistent, that's usually a sign that the study itself is bad, and that might be what we've got here. That the inconsistency in the results could be that the whole foundation is bad. But whatever it is, It's fascinating to watch.
Yeah, it is fascinating to watch. I always say we're in the business of interesting, not necessarily the business of good. This has been really interesting, and I hope that it inspires uh, more people to look for an actual superconductor that can operate at room temperature. There have been apparently false starts about this before, just as there has been
Yeah.
false starts about cold fusion, um, things like that. But and it would be nice to see some kind of positive scientific breakthrough. I mean, what is the last big scientific breakthrough that you heard about where, wow, we really, discovered something new?
Yeah.
Um, Everything seems kind of iterative.
Mm-hmm. For quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, you were just showing us articles. There must be tons of content out there on this from you.
Yes. Yes. So go to tomsharper.com and look for our LK99, LK-99 articles, of which we've got like 5 or 6. And we'll be doing more if more happens. I think we've reached a little bit of a slowdown in the interest in this and the news coming out because a lot of disproving studies have happened. And so I guess we got to see if there are any more proving things that would actually prove it. Um, there have been simulations, of course, that say it should work, but
Sure.
then that's neither here nor there. So um, we'll stay on top of this. I mean, we don't. It's not something that we normally approach materials science, but it was something that one of our writers said, "Hey, there's a lot of drama going on with this, and we thought we should do a story on it." And we did a story, and then we saw a lot of people were interested, so we did. We kept doing more stories, and people were interested for a while. And I think it's an interesting topic, and we'll see if more happens.
For sure. Well, like you said, it's an interesting topic. I appreciate you bringing it up because, like I said, I've been trying to follow it, but not in detail. And it really is an interesting story. And the theory brings a lot of promise. The reality does not appear to line up with the theory, though. So it'll be interesting to see if anything does eventually come out of this, like you said, with doping, adding other stuff to it, maybe perfecting the formula. Maybe someday, maybe this does become the basis of something scientifically changing. We will have to see. And I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. Speaking of gaming accessories, Netflix has one, kind of. Netflix released to the App Store this week the Netflix game controller. It is a touchscreen controller that is intended to work with Netflix games. Now, if you're wondering how that's going to work, because Netflix games is a mobile product, not for long. The company is going to be bringing the service to the big screen. All we know is 2 televisions. We don't entirely know what that means just yet. The little bit of information we have comes from a very sparse screen that pops up on the application itself if you download it. and in the the application description. The description just says, coming soon to Netflix, play games on your TV with the Netflix game controller. This game controller app pairs with your TV and allows you to play games on Netflix using your phone or mobile device. Now, lots of holes here. When they say TV, what do they mean? Do they mean the Netflix app on smart TVs specifically? Are we talking about over-the-top devices like Roku, Xbox, PlayStation? We don't know. That is literally all the information we have right now. Like I said, very sparse. Do not know what to expect from this when it comes out. In the application itself, it comes up and says that the service is in beta and will be launching wider. The fact that they've moved the controller from a beta release, something like Microsoft App Center or Apple Test Flight, they've moved from there into the App Store itself, suggests to me that it's coming soon, but that's based on very little evidence. I think this was kind of inevitable. I think that the idea of bringing the games off of just mobile and onto the big screen was something that was going to happen. Mobile gaming is a very specific category, and it seemed like Netflix wasn't interested in just that product category. They hired a high-profile executive to lead up the content division, the gaming content division. So they're putting a lot into this, and there was no way it was ever going to stay mobile exclusive. I can't wait to see what this looks like. The Netflix games mobile, for those who knew about it and have used it, has actually been a decent experience. As good as it can be with the restrictions from Apple in particular. But it's a solid experience. A variety of games. Big Stranger Things fan. Couple of titles in there. I'm interested to see what they bring to the big screen.
Yeah, I'd like to see. So we're talking purely about the controller from your phone, right?
Yes.
And I know there's games that you can kind of play with your Roku remote,
Mm-hmm.
sort of. Although they're not really very demanding, like trivia. What was it called? I'm trying to remember the name of it. The trivia game. I played it on my Netflix with Roku, or Cat Burglar.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to if they actually gave you or do they even need to give you one? Just like, hey, allow you to use Bluetooth or something and use a controller, an actual game controller, to play some actual games via Netflix. I think so like sides, even if they're not necessarily like high end games. Give me a side scroller.
Yeah.
Whatever. I think would be really cool. If you're Netflix right now, you're probably thinking, we better kick this one into high gear, because what else is going on in the entertainment industry right now?
Yeah.
Two strikes, right?
Yeah.
Two strikes, because they don't, all the streaming services, not, I think we're going to talk about this more later, right? Raising their prices,
Yeah.
but not having, but the spigot of content is coming to a halt. They don't like what they were spending on it anyway.
Yeah.
On the content anyway. So, what can they do that is not original drama? Oh, okay. Well, we can have reality shows, we can have sports, and
True
we
crime.
can have games. Yeah, I guess is that a reality show? I guess documentary.
Yeah,
Right.
documentary.
Yeah, I don't think of crime as
And then-
reality show, but
And then
yeah,
games.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So, and there's a lot of games that are already out there. All they need to do is license them.
True.
What was the one that we were talking about the other day that they're licensing? It was, didn't we say there was one that was exclusive that like somebody else had, and it's going to exclusively be on Netflix now?
Mm.
Remember that? Am I
Yes.
imagining that?
No, I don't think you are. I don't remember what it is. While you pull it up, just as a note. So the controller itself, y'all can see this. The controller itself, the screenshot in the app is weird. This is from the App Store. The controller is strange, and it's very clear that this is intended to be customizable per game. Because in the instructions, when you open the game, I'm going to pull up. To begin, choose a game on your TV and follow the directions to connect. So this connects to each game, not to the game service, which I find fascinating. Which suggests to me that the controller might change based on the game. So I can't wait to see how all this stuff works. Legitimately. I'm a little upset, Netflix, if you're listening. I'm a little upset because I've been the only person talking positively about Netflix games lately. And I didn't get to try this out. Boo. But seriously, no. I can't wait to see what they do with this. I imagine they've got. There's no doubt in my mind there's Stranger Things content coming to the big screen, whether it be the mobile game in a big screen format or new stuff as one of their their biggest IPs. Honestly, I'd be a little disappointed if we don't see some sort of a Tiger King game on the TV. I don't know what it looks like because I don't know if they can actually pull off an 8-bit style video game where you kill tigers or whatever. Weird guy. But it's another big IP of theirs. They did a spinoff. Did you know they did a spinoff? Not just a second season, but a spinoff. Anyway.
I mean, I'd like to see. I mean, all these games are kind of mobile games, and to me, mobile games kind of have a negative connotation. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
They see mobile games to me are like kind of. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people love them. I mean, I have a bubble pop game that I play all the time. I admit to using them, but like I still have no respect for mobile games.
Yeah, I understand.
It's not even that the processing power is not enough or the graphics are not enough. It's that they always seem to be just a way to like extract money from you. Like, hey, let's try and get another $2 from you to do this, or another $5 to do that, or whatever. And so, I have a very negative view of mobile games, which makes me really unexcited about these Netflix games that are really phone games. Now, if they were to do something where it was like, hey, here's here's a game that you can play on your TV, that you can play like, could you get, I don't know, I guess I'm in the mood, but could they license vintage gaming libraries? Could you play Atari on there? Like,
almost. I mean, it'll all come down to what's available for license, but yeah, for sure. I imagine they're going to do that, but there's also going to be original content. They brought in, they brought in a writer from Halo. Apparently, we're not going to. Cortana's not that dead yet. We're going to continue talking about the franchise. They brought in a writer from Halo to oversee the creative division of gaming. So they're obviously planning on doing original content and not small stuff. You don't bring in a heavy hitter from, one of the best known franchises in gaming to oversee a department that's putting out, shallow mobile games. Because I think that was kind of your point, right? Mobile games tend to be shallow. There's not often a lot of depth to them.
Yes.
and when you translate into the big screen, you generally can't keep the shallowness. You either have to have deep gameplay, deep story, or both. And mobile games aren't known for either of those things. Unless it's a mobile port of a regular game, you know. Fortnite Mobile has the same depth and gameplay that Fortnite has. But you know what I mean? Mobile games don't tend to have that depth either of gameplay or of story, because they're generally games that you play to waste time, right? 2048 is not a deep gameplay game.
Yeah, exactly.
So with this, they're definitely going for original content. They're going for some deep stuff. I look forward to seeing what they come out with. Hopefully it's not just going to be the mobile games on the screen. Hopefully they'll have some good content. I assume, because when they launched it on the mobile, they launched it with licensed content. I imagine they will do the same thing with the TV. My guess is everything that was licensed for Stadia was up for contract negotiations. Just putting it out there. But we will definitely see probably pretty soon, because again, the app's in the public storefront now, which changes where we are with this. My guess is we will probably see this sooner than later. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. This is going to be Avram's favorite topic of the night, and I say that with complete sarcasm. We've talked a lot about AI. Definitely go back and check out some of our past Piltch Point episodes, talking about some of the dangers to both consumers and to publishers and creators around AI. But one of the things that has kept that danger at bay has been the fact that things like ChatGPT, the information is older. The information that it has, that it draws on, is, cordoned off to a time period. After that time period, it doesn't really gain new information. And so, writing about modern content, speaking of digital assistants earlier on, writing, which is not really what they do, about breaking news and things like that, has not been effective or really possible because they don't know about it. That might be about to come to an end. ChatGPT has a thing coming called GPTBot, which is their version of a web crawler. Now, web crawler is what generally the search engines use to go crawl the internet, to get information, to index, to bring search results to you. ChatGPT now has one, and it sounds like it's going to be rolling out soon if it's not already out there running, and publishers are panicking. Understandably, I am one of them, about what to do about this. There's a couple of ways to go. One, let it happen. It's going to happen, let it happen. Two is to figure out a way to block the bot from accessing your website. Then there's the way that I'm leaning, which is to sabotage it a little bit, and feed it weird data. See if I can affect the results a little bit. but that's me. So I don't know which way people are going, but OpenAI that runs ChatGPT did put out the information about the bot, about the web crawler, and that includes the user agent string that it will be using, which is how publishers are going to try and defend themselves against this. So, definitely an interesting one, Avram.
So I just on Friday published an article about now primarily I was talking about Google because what Google is doing is of greater concern to me and I
Yeah.
think should be of greater concern to publishers than what OpenAI is doing. But the principles of the problem are the same. Now, I guess I should say why am I more concerned about Google than OpenAI? Because OpenAI is actually getting more attention for what it's doing, right? ChatGPT was the
Yeah.
original
Newsmaker.
source that people newsmaker here, but what we're really talking about is the problem for anyone who publishes anything, right? Like, let's not just say it's media companies. Let's say it's anyone who publishes anything on the
Yeah.
internet. You go and you publish write a forum post.
Yep.
You can answer somebody's question on Stack Overflow or whatever. Like all of those things are being sucked up by these AIs and spat out in the voice of the AI so that you no longer get credit or traffic or anything for what you do. So even if you are writing, answers to people on Quora just because you're a nice person out of the kindness of your heart, going and answering people's questions, if nobody sees what you wrote, but it's just being used to feed an AI to that is designed to prevent people from reading your words, like why would you do it?
Yeah.
Like why would you do it? I mean, I've had some people say, "Oh, I don't publish things on a forum or whatever to be famous." Yeah, but I mean, like if everything's being just sucked up and spat out by an AI, like why would you live just to do? Why would you give your labor either for free or for trying to make a profit if it's just going to be sucked up by a bot? And Google is a bigger immediate threat to anybody who publishes things because Google is where 91 to 94% of web searches take place.
Yeah.
So the fact that Google is going to roll out its search generative experience and put it on top of the search results that people are already using,
Right.
I think is a bigger threat than people going to OpenAI, to ChatGPT to get this information.
Yeah.
By the way, Bing Chat already doing this, and Bing Chat is using GPT-4, right? So isn't
So, Bing Chat is adding its index into the training for its own instance of GPT.
so because there's
the-
new stuff in there,
Yeah, true.
right?
True.
So I mean, that's inevitable. What we have to do, what everybody has to do. So here's something that you didn't mention because it was a Google thing, but it's very relevant to OpenAI and to
Quick,
this situation.
quick question. What were the letters? Something 99.
LK-99.
Thank you.
You want to see if LK-99 is in Bing Chat?
Yep.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be if it was only 21.
Yeah.
I promise you, it has had stuff in there from articles that we have published in the last 2 years in Bing Chat. So Bing Chat is already doing what ChatGPT's crawler says that they're going to do, or is doing. So
in 2023, they published preprints claiming that it acts as a room temperature semiconductor.
right. So there, I don't see this as actually that remarkable because ChatGPT is just achieving sort of parity with Bing and Google, which are already doing this kind of real-time crawling. And the problem is the same for publishers is the same all over the place, which is how do we stop these companies from stealing our work and using it against us? And everybody should be concerned about that, whether you're in the publishing industry or not. And one thing that, so Google last week made a statement to the Australian government, which, did you hear about this, Scott? What Google said to the Australian authorities?
I saw something about it. I don't remember what they said though. It was bonkers.
So my
There,
So my article on Friday was about that, but it really could apply equally to ChatGPT, which is Google said that they would like to see the definition of fair use. They didn't say it in this many
yeah.
words. This is something like, we would like to see fair, support a copyright system that supports this as fair use. So they want scraping content for AI training to be considered fair use, legally speaking.
And I think they use
Which
that
some,
term too, scraping content
yes,
or
they did.
scraping the web.
Yeah. Now, so Google said that, but there have been other folks, including a professor I interviewed named Matthew Sag, who says that AI scraping is already fair use under the current fair use doctrine. I have a really long, detailed article about this on Tom's Hardware right now about Google saying that they want it to be fair use, and ChatGPT, OpenAI, I'm sure will make the same claim when in the various lawsuits in which they are being sued right now for AI scraping. So obviously, there's the question of whether it is legal, whether the laws are, they want, obviously Google wants a law to change in its favor. Some of us might want the law to change the opposite way to make it really clear that it's not fair use. I don't personally, I think that the legislative solutions will probably be too slow. And what we'll see is judiciary solutions, like what precedents will courts set for whether or not AI scraping is fair use. Now, obviously, one thing that Google suggested in its note to the Australian government, and they suggested this in a public blog post a month ago, is that they have a way for the industry come up with something like the robots.txt file, or maybe it is the robot.txt file, to say, don't use my data for training. They want the training data situation to be an opt out for web people who run websites, and so they want to have a standard where you can opt out. Now, I've spoken to some lawyers, including Matthew Butterick, who is one of the lead counsels who is suing OpenAI he's one of the lead counsels in several of the lawsuits, including the Sarah Silverman lawsuit and the one where a couple of novelists are suing OpenAI, and the one where there were some folks suing Stable Diffusion. He was on that, and GitHub lawsuit. Anyway, so he said that he thinks opt out, and I agree with him, is contrary to everything in copyright law. There's not a situation right now where companies who own intellectual property have to opt out of every instance of it possibly being appropriated. Right? Like, imagine this scenario. I go to the bank, and behind one of the teller windows, I see a wad of cash, and no one is guarding it. So I grab the cash from behind the wad of bills, and I start walking out of the bank, and then some police stop me and arrest me for stealing. And I say, "Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. There was no sign up at the bank, and there was nobody there who said that I couldn't take the money.
Right.
Nobody explicitly told me not to, so therefore I'm entitled to take this."
Right.
That is the logic that Google and OpenAI are using. Is, hey, we can steal your stuff, we can use it as we wish, and we think it should be, if it's not already for sure legal for us to do this. But, we'll throw you a little bone, which is we'll come up with a way for you to go in and exclude yourself
Right.
from the training data.
Yeah,
I
which
think
is
there's
insane.
a couple, aside from the obvious point here about, well, it puts the onus on the copyright holder. You might say, I know someone will say this, oh, how big of a deal is it really to modify? Let's say it's just putting a no train line or something in your robots text file. Okay, let's say that that's the case, and that a lot of people, but not everybody's going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
What's not clear at all?
The same argument can be made. How hard is it to grab a Sharpie and go right on your front window? You're not allowed to steal my money.
Right.
It's not that difficult, but it shouldn't be required.
Right. So yeah, both true. The other thing, though, is what we don't really know is what the disadvantages are of opting out of training, and what what that means for data that's already been sucked in. So like let's say tomorrow they come out with a standard, and both OpenAI and, remember, companies, by the way, don't like, I don't think the robot text file is legally binding, right? It's a industry standard, so
Right.
a company could
Ignore it.
company could unethically scrape stuff, and you'd have a hard time knowing it. But let's say that these larger companies, because they're public companies, and there's probably, if there's a law, presumably they're going to follow it, although we know companies break the law all the time. But anyway, let's say for a second that they respect it going forward.
Sure.
So first of all, what about all the data that they've grabbed up until now? If I put that in my robot text, are they going to go back into their training data and untrain it on all of the stuff on my website? Am I going to, if I want them to remove it, am I going to have to go and file a removal request for things like for each URL, for each provider? Do I have to go to OpenAI and Bing and Google and anybody else and say and ask them to remove it? Are they obligated to do that, to remove it, or is it only from now on? The other question is, what is this going to do to me, especially in the case of Google, in terms of my rank in Google search? Are they going to penalize me by not ranking me in Google search if I block their training data? What does it mean to not be linked in SGE? Like SGE, Search Generative Experience, which is the thing that they're putting on top of search, I think a lot of companies will not opt out because they might get some clicks from it, and if that is the only thing that's going, then you're in a worse position saying no than saying yes.
It's the answer box on steroids.
Right. But the thing is that a lot of people I really I don't love the answer box, but the answer box is very different than what Google SGE is, because what Google SGE is, Google Search Generative Experience is it's speaking in Google's voice, and it's not really linking back to the sources. It's sort of linking back to related sites, and they recently added some other level of linkage that's actually, like, the scariest thing is that these companies think that they're doing a solid to publishers when they're actually just rubbing it in your face by making it worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if you go to, like, one sec, let me share this just so you can see. Like, and this is directly relevant to this topic, because what Google is doing is what OpenAI is doing, right? So let's say, for example, I ask it for best CPU. You're going to see the Google Search Generative Experience, right? So it takes a second, but they're speeding this up, so we shouldn't assume that that's going to stop it, right? Okay, so now here's your SGE experience. You can see that my Google actual search results are not even on the first screen. I got to scroll down a long way to see that the best CPUs from Tom's Hardware is number one. So that's going to have an extremely negative effect on people who are in the search results. And a lot of companies, most publishers or anybody rely on Google as their number one, as a top means of distribution. Now, Google said, wow, well, that's okay, we'll link to you. Okay, first of all, they don't choose the most relevant stuff for links, right? For SGE. Uh, their number one of their top sources is MacPaw. Okay. MacPaw does not even rank in the top like 30 for best CPU because this isn't what people want when they're searching for best CPU, right? Uh, Nor is smallbusiness.cron.com. Like, why should that rank there rather than say PC Mag or Tom's Hardware, or PC World, or somebody who's actually known for doing this kind of work? A few weeks ago, they added this little question, quotation mark thing, and some people said, "Oh wow, they're giving us links. It's so generous of them." Because now, if you click on this, you have to click this, and then you see these, and then you can click them, as if that was like, wow, they're really being generous, putting some links in there. Thanks, buddy. You gotta. First of all, they sort of had this before, and now if you click this, then you click this, then you'll get transported to it. But it's not at all clear that this is a citation for this. Like, it could be any of these things. And like, there's no, article title, so I don't know what I'm getting when I click this, right? And who's going to do that? But my point about the opt-in, opt-out is there's going to be some folks who say, oh, if I opt out, there's no way I'm going to show up here or show up in this little tiny, one person out of a billion clicks it thing. So, I guess I better opt in, because I guess I better stay in, because otherwise all this real estate at the top of the page, I don't get to play here. So it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because you want traffic, and a lot of publishers will be like, well, even if they give me like 1% of the traffic that they gave me before, I guess that 1% is better than zero. But if everybody opted out, or coincidentally, if they had to opt in and opt out was the default behavior, then OpenAI and Google would have to change their behavior. Because they wouldn't have any of this. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it without you. Now, what they're effectively saying is, oh, hey, you want to opt out? That's fine. I got some other garbage websites that are willing to opt in your place. Somebody's going to get this crappy link up here in the top corner. Maybe they'll only get 5 clicks where they used to get thousands, but hey, somebody's going to claim those 5 clicks. Don't you want it to be you? So, I mean, they'd have a more compelling argument if they actually used the quality sites there. It seems that Google SGE, what they consider to be good content and what Google search considers to be good content, are completely different things. And SGE has terrible taste and picks irrelevant, outdated, biased sources too, right? Like, they'll steer you to the opinion from a store, right? Like a medical opinion, they'll steer you to the opinion from the health insurance company or something, not the medical association. So I guess my point here is opt out is going to be a problem, because not everyone will opt out. So somebody's going to get the very minimal amount of linkage that they give. In the case of ChatGPT right now, it gives nothing, no links. So there's no incentive not to opt out. But for Bing and for Google, that's the catch-22. And if ChatGPT put a couple of really low quality, low visibility links in there, we'd have the same conversation about them. They all think that the web is their personal playground, and they can take whatever they want from it. And by the way, we've also seen them take things from sites that are behind a paywall. So just because you think, I mean, they let a little thing like your paywall stop them. They will give answers from behind that for things that are behind the paywall. If you click the link, you will get hit, as a reader will get hit with the paywall, but they're perfectly happy to take data that's train themselves from behind the paywall, because Google and all those folks, they get the full text of the content that's behind paywalls, because
Right.
people who run paywall businesses want their content to be found in Google. They want
Right.
people to click on it and then say, hey, I better subscribe to this. So um, really, I think if it were up to me, first of all, more people should file lawsuits to test in court whether this really is fair use or not. Um, and I think more publishers should be looking for ways, like if enough publishers blocked them, then they might take notice. It can't just be me though, right? It can't just be a couple of companies.
Right.
It has to be a lot of people. If it were opt-in, then it would then you'd be talking about who wants to opt in.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to opt in? Then you got to pay me. We are seeing that some companies are going out and negotiating deals with with the likes of OpenAI to pay them for their content. Um, so maybe that will be a thing. Will the amount that they pay for it be sufficient to offset the massive
Right.
revenue losses? We'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. On the topic of Bing's up-to-date relevance, I asked it, what does Tom's Hardware say about LK99? And it gave me several sentences with 3 different articles.
Right. So, as I said, I don't feel like, for the people who are going to the ChatGPT, OpenAI's website, and using that as their client experience, then we should block. I saw a thing about how you can actually block their crawler and robots text, and I forwarded it to the head of IT at my company, and we'll see if they decide to block it.
Sure.
But that is just one little finger in the dam. The question really is, are we going to have an opt-out standard, and what is that going to mean for the people who opt out?
Yeah, for sure. It's a big topic. And it's a bit of a moving target because the technology is so new and we don't know at all what we're up against. So we'll definitely continue following it because it affects all of us in one way or another. So, keep following. We'll see what happens next. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. I'm going to go back in time here for a little bit. Stick with me. When cable first came out, a promise was made that you were going to be paying for something different than over-the-air television. The primary difference, in addition to lots more choice, because it could be national stuff, in addition to lots more choice, you were going to be paying and not getting ads. It wasn't long into cable's existence before that changed, and networks started adding ads into their broadcasts. Shows got shorter, ads got longer, and just like broadcast television, cable is generally about 22 minutes of content for a 30-minute show. Now, let's skip forward a couple decades. When the streaming services started, a promise was made that they were going to be a less expensive way of accessing new content without ads. Hasn't been long since Netflix went from DVD to streaming, and in that time, now all of the services, including Netflix, have ads. Now, with cable, as the ads came, so did a significant increase, not decrease, in the price of the service. As ad-supported tiers have been added to the streaming services, the price of the services have gone up, not down. This week, Disney has added a price increase to their streaming services. Disney Plus is going from $11 to $14 a month. Hulu, without ads, is going from $14 to $18 a month. And if you combine them together, it will be $20 a month, which in general, if you look at the current prices, that is actually a really great deal. 18 plus 2 instead of 18 plus 14. The bundle's definitely the way to go, especially if you have both. But if you combine the prices of Hulu without ads and Disney Plus without ads 12 months ago, if you paid for them separately, they were still only, I think, $2 more than the new deal is. That's how much they've gone up. This is the second time that both of these brands have increased their prices in the last 12 months. They're far from alone. Netflix, HBO Max/Max, Paramount Plus, Peacock, everybody's prices have gone up. And what have we gotten for that? Less content. The thing that I find really interesting with this is the ad-supported tiers for Disney Plus and Hulu aren't changing prices. So what's going on here? Is Disney trying to drive us to the ad-supported thing? Is that making them more money? Are they hoping people will bundle the two services together? Are they just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks? I don't know, Avram. They're putting themselves into my theory, not of their motives, but of what's happening. They're putting themselves into a position to lose subscribers. Because with all these price increases across the board, people are going to have to start making decisions about what services they want. Because this is a cable subscription now. It didn't used to be. With a couple of services and a couple of subscriptions, you were still at like half the price of cable, and you got to choose what you wanted. This is a full cable subscription or more these days. They're going to start losing subscribers. Disney Plus already is. They've lost a ton of subscribers in this last quarter, partially because India lost Indian cricket. But that doesn't account for the huge number that they lost. Netflix, in the last, year and a half, saw its first ever subscriber loss. We know Paramount Plus has lost subscribers. We think that HBO Max lost subscribers, but they were also lying about the number of subscribers in the beginning under AT&T, so, all of that's a little fuzzy. So everybody's losing subscribers. Are they heading in the wrong direction? Are they making a mistake? Are they actually going to cut their revenue by doing this?
Oh, also we see the business with the password sharing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's been another way to like drum revenue, right? And
Disney has joined that
now too. Yeah. So, I mean, people are going to have to. It's become like cable now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's become exactly like cable. But why wouldn't it have been? I mean, it's cable without the cable. It's cable without the cable company.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's kind of the a la carte cable that we all always wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of. Except ish, except that it still doesn't do that for live TV.
Right.
So if you want live TV, you gotta get. There's only like a couple of choices,
Yeah.
which I now have YouTube TV,
Hmm.
and
My parents do too.
so right, so that went up in price, and that's
Hmm.
effectively like your general cable. And
Yep.
then we have like we need to get rid of some stuff. I'll tell you right now, we're gonna have to get rid of some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we have too many streaming services, we and it's not worth it. Um,
Yeah.
and it, and it's hard to say. Like, I mean, I have to, I'm gonna have to talk to to my wife about it because she has a lot of services that she likes, and then I have ones that I use, and
Yeah.
so we have to figure out like what will we keep? Like honestly, uh, honestly, for me, I think Netflix could go. Um, every now and again, they have something that I want.
Hmm.
Um, so is that every now and again monthly? It's hard to say, right? Um, I mean, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I used to get a lot out of BritBox, but they seem to be adding new content like once a year now. Like they're
Mm.
really not become stingy about. I mean, I had like one, two things a month or something,
Yeah.
where it used to be just a lot of content. And considering they don't have to, mostly don't make their own content, like it's really cheap. But there are no new shows coming out in England anymore. I don't know. So, um,
Um. Uh. 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown just came back, like for the first time in ages over there. So I
ooh,
mean, like none of my British TV has had new episodes in quite a
right.
while.
Yeah. So anyway, consequently, it's right. I mean, I got that, and my mother watches it, and I watch it, and we haven't really watched very much of it lately. So that could go. Part of the thing is that these are like not monthlies, but they're annuals. So we have to figure out, oh, when are we going to drop them, right? Like,
Yeah.
uh, like I really was thinking of dropping Acorn, which is like another sort of British Australian
Hmm.
streaming service, and I had bought it for a year, and it wasn't bad when I bought it for a year. The first time it was like $59 for the year, but I haven't watched anything on there in like 5 months because they
Yeah.
they almost never add anything. Um, so so my we're gonna have to get rid of those, right? Like, I mean, there's just we got to get rid of more stuff
Yeah.
and decide what is worth keeping. I mean, we might have to keep Disney because Disney actually, like, as much as annoying as it is, there's stuff on there that we want, although not as much. I mean, like, really, it's that like one Marvel or Star Wars show and occasionally showing the kids a cartoon, but
Hmm.
not necessarily that often. Uh, you know, Max for sure we could. I mean, I was just watching something on there yesterday, but we could we could toss that.
Yeah.
I mean, there
It's one of
Paramount is
it's
one.
one of the few I don't have. I don't have Max.
Yeah,
I've never had Max. I
yeah.
almost signed up for the year during the name change where they gave the discount. I'm like, yeah, but I don't think there's anything on there I care about. So
I
no.
had Max because I had cable
Mm-hmm.
HBO, and then I got rid of cable, and now I should admit this, but I'm using my mom's Max from her cable, but she just changed her cable, so that's going to go away, I think.
Mm.
Um, uh, I mean, there's a couple of okay things. The funny thing is, sometimes the best stuff is actually on the free channels,
Yeah.
right? Like sometimes you're like, oh, actually, Tubi has something I really want to see,
I watched Rat Race on there
or
the other night. I think it was on there.
or or Pluto or Freevee or whatever. Like,
Uh huh.
there's a lot of stuff on those, and sometimes they have things on there that you can't actually find most other places. So, like,
Rat Race.
Tubi recently, no, not Tubi. I'm sorry, Pluto recently added a Godzilla channel,
Oh,
right?
nice.
And and where they live play Godzilla movies all day. But besides that, you can actually just the fact that they're live playing is sort of irrelevant because anything that they have on there you could just watch. You could just choose to watch on demand.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to have some commercials while you're watching, but there you have it. So
I'm willing, and that kind of gets back to the topic of streaming becoming cable. I'm willing to watch the ads on a free streaming service. I'm not really willing to watch the ads on a paid streaming service unless for whatever reason I'm getting it for free. Right?
Yeah,
if you happen to be a Walmart Plus subscriber and you get Paramount Plus ad supported for free, okay. I can deal with the ads in that case. But if I'm putting money specifically into it, no. No, we're going to have a fight about that.
right. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, everything is a factor in money, right? Like,
Yeah.
my my mother went to the movies the other day for the first time in a few years, and she came back with a slew of complaints, which is kind of funny, which were kind of funny to me. She said, "I can't believe how many ads they have at the movies." Right? Because now when you go to, I mean, to be fair, I don't go to the movies that much, and every time I go, I'm like, "You're right. There's like half an hour of ads on there,"
Yeah.
and she's, and that's if you get there before it actually quote unquote starts, and then it starts, and then you get previews
Trailers,
for like
yeah.
a long time, trailers for a long time, but you got like so many ads, and my mother is like, "I can't believe how many ads there were. You're paying to get in, you get all these ads."
Mm-hmm.
But the funniest part was she complained that it was too loud. I said to her, "But you can't hear, so don't you appreciate how loud it is?" She went to see
Feature, not a
Oppenheimer.
bug. Feature, not a bug.
For you, that would be a feature, right? Like, because she can't hear very well, and she doesn't usually. She refuses to use her hearing aid. So, um, so anyway,
That's funny.
right? So I get what you're saying. It is, but I guess that's the way of the world. There's ads on everything, even things
Yeah.
that you pay for. I mean, I think some movies in the theater should be free with ads. I've said this for decades now. I think some movies that are just chatty movies that not a lot of people want to see, they should make it free with ads.
Sure.
Like, make money off of the concessions and off of the advertising, and be done. Like, they could have a lot more people in the theater for some of the movies that are like that have been there for a while. People don't really want to see, whatever. But hey, they see it. I guess it works for them. I guess it works for the movie theater to do it that way, and I guess it works for the streaming services to say, "Hey, we can hit you with ads and ask for money."
Yeah. Yeah. Because people will.
I mean, it's a revenue mix, right? And I understand,
Right.
like, if you run a business, you understand that, like, you often can't get all of the, uh, you often can't get all of the money you want from one thing, right? So I mean, I get it. It is a little bit perturbing that you pay for stuff and also has ads, but hey, you pay for tickets to go to a concert, and yet they have all these ads up all over the concert venue for whoever owns the naming right to the stadium. Or you go to a baseball game and they have ads all over the outfield. You paid a ton of money to get in. Like, although at least those type of ads usually don't waste your time, but like,
sure,
like
because they're concurrent,
right? Whereas now, you're right, like, that's time of your life you'll never have again. You're sort of either you pay with your attention or you pay with your money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And on the back end of your life, that last moment of your life when your life is flashing before your eyes, you'll have all those commercials in the flash.
Yeah. And that like 6 weeks where Hulu showed me nothing but vodka ads.
Yeah. I
They
mean,
they 100% had me targeted. Somebody who doesn't drink at all. They had me all figured out.
yeah. I mean, the funniest thing is that my son has this theory of ads, which is that they they shouldn't they should know when you own something and not show it to you as an ad. And I keep explaining to him that I don't think that's preferable. Like, I'd rather they show me something I already bought and not know that I own it than know my
Yeah,
business. But he's like,
100%.
oh, but I already have that game. Why is it showing me the ad for it or whatever? I already saw that thing. Why is it showing me the ad for it? Shouldn't it put something in your browser or your device to say you? I mean, to be fair, it is a little weird. Like, for example, if you're playing a game and it gives you an ad for another game or something, he's like, shouldn't it know you have that other game installed and not show you an ad for it or something? And I say, no, I don't really want it to know what I have installed, so
Yeah.
that's fine. But
No, thank you.
that's his that's his take on ads is that they should actually be more intrusive to be more helpful, which is
Sure.
an advertising agency type of take. Like, hey, if we knew everything about you, we could really help you out here by only showing you ads we care about. I mean,
Hey,
right? I mean,
how about? No. I'm good.
it's funny also but it is funny also that they'll show you ads for something as like related when you just bought like Amazon or something. You just bought something
Yeah.
that you only need one of, and it will keep saying, "Hey, would you like this? Would you like?" No, listen, I already bought one motherboard. I'm not building lots of different computers,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
but
I see you were looking.
it,
I see you were looking at hard drives. Here are 6 dozen more. Yeah, but did you see that I also made the purchase on the hard drive? I'm done. The, it's not. It's not Coca-Cola. This isn't
right.
a thing that I'm gonna order on the
They,
regular.
I mean, that's something that that advertisers could like something like that. Amazon knows what you bought, right?
Yeah.
But but other stuff like they don't know. I don't want them to know what I bought.
No.
So if they keep advertising me stuff that I already bought, well,
It's fine.
okay, that's fine. Whatever. Thank you for showing me a picture of it. Make me feel good about how whatever. But yeah, I mean,
Unless
so
you're unhappy with
ads.
your purchase, in which case it just adds
It just
anger.
rubs it in. Just rubs it in
Hey, don't
for
forget you
you.
bought this thing.
No, no, bought that piece of garbage. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's just the price keeps going up. People are going to have to cancel. They are going to have to. They are going to see more churn. And this is pretty. I mean, I'm sure they were planning it before, but I have to say this is a really big, I don't know, slap in the face to subscribers at the same time that you're telling everyone that you can't afford to pay for new content. You're
Yeah.
cutting the amount of content that's available. You're canceling shows, and you won't negotiate with or give reasonable payments to, um, to the writers and actors who make the content. But hey, why don't you give us more money for the fact that we're not going to have the content? Also, there's a really good argument to be made that people should should stop or suspend um, their streaming starting in a couple of months because the pipeline is going to be dry for a while. I'm not sure exactly when the cutover date is for the pipeline going dry,
Hmm.
but it'll be going dry. I mean,
Yeah.
things that we um, do you watch Strange New Worlds on Paramount Plus?
Hmm. Yeah.
So are you caught up with
Hmm.
the latest one? So I'm not going to spoil this for the audience except to say that the end of the season ended on a cliffhanger, right? And you you might think you're going to wait a year to know what happens, but you might wait 2 years
Yeah.
to know what happens
Yeah.
at this point.
It could be. It could be the Orville.
Right. Right. It could be like 2025 before you find out, what happens. before the cliffhanger is hopefully resolved.
Yeah.
So like, if it's not going to be coming back, like maybe you should just cancel it for a while. It's a lot
Yep.
easier to cancel or suspend these services than it is to cancel or suspend cable,
Yeah.
right? I think
Yeah.
they at least made it easier for you to leave and come back. So like they've given us a nice I have to say they've given us all a nice incentive to leave. I mean, I will say
And
this: the
if
company.
the content pipeline, comes to an end and then subscribers start to drop off, it might be helpful in negotiations if they haven't gotten anywhere by the time that comes together. Because in 2008, I mean, they were shut down forever.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to. It's gonna have to. It would have to be a while because you said that then the amount's going up when in October or something.
For Disney,
Yeah, or is it now?
um, I think it's soon. Uh, trying to remember. Um, they announced it on the 9th. I don't know. It might be September.
All right. Well, yeah, maybe just a few more weeks. I mean, but the pipeline's not totally dried
Right.
out yet. I mean, Disney, for example, Ahsoka is about to start, so they've got a few weeks um, of that going on. So they're not totally like
Yeah,
Paramount Plus
you're
is going
right.
to have
October
lower
12th.
decks, right? So it's going to be a few months, I think, before we see the complete effects of the content uh, pipe. Like right now, it's not very apparent. Uh, Come October, November with network television, it's going to be apparent because I don't
Yeah.
think anybody's filmed anything
Yeah.
for the fall uh, season.
I think you're right.
So no Law and Order for me until this is resolved, right?
Yeah.
No, whatever. I mean, I guess if you like NCIS, you could just watch any episode and pretend that it's new because it's probably the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but nevertheless, it's yeah, they're gonna have the pipeline it's the worst possible time for them to raise the rates on people.
Yeah.
But
Because
it's very
they're all gonna bump into each other. The rate
yeah,
increase and the pipeline are gonna happen pretty close together. And
yeah.
that's not gonna be
It's a
good for
bad time.
anybody.
It's a bad time for that. I think they're all trying to impress some investors. Unfortunately, the incentive for a lot of executives is to go quarter to quarter and try to impress people for this quarter and not think ahead to the next quarter or the quarter
Yeah.
after or the year after. Um, and so they're engaged in very short term thinking about this. And so they don't, so, hey, we're going to raise some revenue. But I think this is going to have a deleterious effect over time. I mean, the companies that feel like they can stay in the game because their IP is so valuable may be okay. I think the ones that are kind of on the fringe right now, like Paramount,
Mm-hmm.
may get worse for them, and
Yeah.
I would be sorry to see that because
Par-
um, I
Paramount
like Paramount
shedding
Plus.
content right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Uh, so I'm very concerned about Paramount and
Yeah.
their Star Trek content. They
Yeah.
did make a very interesting statement to investors the other day, which is that they said something like, we need to super serve some audiences, and we're not serving them enough, or we're serving them. I think we're serving that, like, in other words, something about like we have a certain number of franchises that people care about, like Star Trek and a couple of others, and we better make sure that like the people who want those always have something on, like every month, have some new stuff, right? But not two new things at once. We better not give them too much at once,
Right.
But we better give them enough so that we don't give them a reason to churn.
Sure.
And we really want to concentrate on the people who want these franchises and nothing else. So like, if you like Star Trek, I think we're going to try to keep giving you some minimal amount of content at least every month. But if you liked, I don't know, some other show that we're doing that's not really related, then that might have to go.
QQ, sad story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
It's going to be an interesting, 12 months in the streaming world. I think you're right. I think we're going to see some people panic, like services. We might see some additional mergers or partnerships or something like that. And I think the next 12 months are going to be really wild in that industry. And there's no telling what'll happen.
Yeah.
Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. If you joined us over on Kick and are still there right now, do me a favor and hit subscribe or hit follow for me. Appreciate the people who already have. Had a pretty good activity feed over there tonight. If you have a Kick account and you haven't followed us over there, please do. It'll help us be able to get to the subscription capability. If you're not, no worries. We've still got a lot of content coming out. I still have a box of product, including new product since the last time we talked. So lots of reviews and things coming. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, lots of stuff over the next couple months. Pretty exciting. And I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we'll see you back next time. Ciao.